so do we want to call the meeting?
Yeah, let's call the meeting to order. I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting. I think they came out to everyone, didn't they, Brendan?
Yes, I believe so. We had sent them out, right?
I haven't seen them.
I did not see him in my packet.
I didn't see him.
Okay.
Okay, let's pass on accepting the minutes.
Okay.
That's right. I'm pretty sure Joe was not in on the last meeting, so I'm not sure what happened with the minutes, Brendan.
Right. Okay. I'll have to double check on that. Sorry.
Okay, let's just postpone that till the next meeting.
Okay. All right.
Okay, financial report.
Financial report. I have not received, I'm just scrolling down here on the expense control report. This is still from July, so this is when we started off. I have yet to receive anything. I have to ask Val for what expenses have happened since July 1st going forward, but I haven't gotten it yet. But this is, obviously the start to our fiscal year here, so you're gonna see no changes. Obviously no payroll that's been produced on this sheet here, nor any other expenditures from any of our other line items. So we'll just have to wait for that to come in, but hopefully I'll get that soon.
Okay.
So
we should be in good shape 1 month in.
yeah. I don't think we're redlining anything yet.
There you go.
Good call.
Yeah.
Highland Valley, I know it says NA, but you did bring it up, Brendan, last meeting that I believe that they were really urging us to have a representative on that board.
Yes.
And someone, I think, was considering it. I don't remember if it was Pat or Eileen.
Not me.
That was a quick response.
Not it. All right. I think I was debating it.
Yeah. So who won the debate, Pat?
It's still like the election. It's still up for debate.
Okay.
Do they need an answer now? I can't remember.
Well, I think what Alan Wimet, the director at Highland Valley, is looking for some type of response next month.
Okay.
They're closing out their fiscal year. They're hoping to introduce the new one with someone who's going to represent our community.
Okay.
So if it was of any use, connect you with Alan if you wanted to get a little bit more detail, because I know I kind of gave a very basic overview of what they're expecting.
Yeah.
I have a couple of other people who are waiting to get in. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I think if we could somehow, sometime next month start to solidify this, it would be really helpful. And of course, if there's any information that I can get from Alan to give to you directly, or if you'd like to speak with him directly yourself,
yeah.
I'm sure that happen.
Let's try and do that. Could you send me an email and copy him in, and we can try and connect that way?
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. I will do that.
All right.
Probably sometime the next day or two. Okay.
Yeah, no rush. Thank you.
All right.
And Brendan, just one other thing. I don't know, how often you communicate with that group, but for Pat's sake, I know how many of these organizations, we're looking for a member. It's one meeting a month. And then when you get going, the next thing you know, it's 2 or 3 meetings a month. Are they truly, I know they only meet 10 months out of the year, but are they truly committing our representative to 1 meeting a month? Or are they expecting more involvement with subcommittees or things like that?
For now, I think they're just looking for someone who can go to those 10 meetings throughout the year and represent the needs of Easthampton. I think they just want to have an active role in this so that they understand. Other than just hearing from me, I think from a COA board member, it would also probably mean a lot to Highland Valley to show the commitment, of our organization towards it. I have yet to be told of, requirements for joining subcommittees or anything else like that. But I think they definitely want Easthampton's voice to be heard. Because otherwise, Estelle is, while she's still connected with us on some levels and she's done plenty of stuff for us, specifically with outreach, her role has certainly changed. And she has president of the HVS board. So it's, I just don't think it's necessarily, now that I look at the documents that have come in from Highland Valley, it just doesn't seem like appropriate just to pass along a message to her and hope that it gets to the board. I know that she would, but because she's no longer part of our board, I wanted to make sure that we had an active board member part of that.
Yeah, and my recollection was the most important part of that was an open line of communication so that we could communicate issues back to our representative and our representative could communicate Highland Valley issues back to us.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Great.
I'm a solid maybe.
Okay, good. That's better than last month, Pat. Thanks.
Right.
Remember, the election's September 1st, so you only got a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Vote in person.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Brendan, you're up.
All right. So I just wanted to give a quick breakdown. It's supposed to say June 15th. So I apologize, in the very first category for July. On June 15th, we were contacted by the AARP tax assistance volunteer, and they had been given the green light to go ahead and continue providing tax assistance for seniors. And some council on agings just flat out rejected it. They didn't want to even attempt to finish off the July 15th deadline for the taxes. But I had spoken with both the mayor and Bree from the health department to see if we could somehow do some type of curbside assistance. And it actually ended up being that from June 22nd, going all the way up to the tax deadline, which is July 15th, we were able to assist 53 individuals who weren't, who had either been reading or didn't get a chance to file their taxes. And so this was a huge help for some of our folks, a lot of panicked people out there. Didn't feel comfortable filing an extension, didn't feel, sure as to what to do. And so we had a lot of people who not only filed their taxes, but put in for the circuit breaker so they could get some there as well. So I have to give a lot of credit to the volunteers who came in here. When we did this curbside method, the idea was that the volunteers were coming in through the elevator entrance only and going directly downstairs. So staff had no contact the volunteers, and so they were separated. They had their own space. We made sure that the area was disinfected before they came, and that we asked our participants to wait outside. It was kind of, eventually after the second week we did this, people dropped off their information and they came back later in the day because it just got way too hot during those weeks that we were doing the tax assistance. But overall, it worked really well, and it was just nice because so many panic phone calls from people about tax assistance. It was nice to be 53 individuals in and help them out before the deadline.
Great.
On a popular, or on a good note, I'd like to, say that Gliffy, who runs the Bones class, has just started as of last month doing a Zoom session, and that was a really popular class. It was always well attended here, to the point where we created 2 separate classes on Mondays. While we're not seeing the same turnout with Zoom, we're at least getting between 8 to 10 participants for that class. And it just, I know it sounds like a small amount, but compared to where we were when we first started this, we had one failed, Zoom event after another, just because people didn't necessarily want to engage on Zoom. And it's still a struggle. It still is a struggle. We constantly find the technology gap is getting in our way. But at the same time, we're seeing a little bit of progress here. And so it's nice to, finally see people turning out to these virtual events. It's not for everyone. We're aware of that, and it's not ideal. But right now, we want to keep everyone safe, and we want to make sure that, people are still getting the same, really essential programs that were here before we shut down. So I just wanted to thank Gliffy and give her credit for that, because she's always served the Easthampton COA while she was working here as an outreach worker and certainly as a volunteer. And again, just in case anybody's wondering, Gliffy does the same thing that the AAR tax reps were doing, which is she goes through the elevator chute. She doesn't have any contact with us down here. The room's already set up for and disinfected. So inviting people into the building to do some of these services, no one is in contact with each other. So we've been able to create that barrier by using the downstairs as a place for folks to, do these programs or events or services.
No, I'm not. I was
Good job.
dusting something off my desk.
Here. So on July 22nd, we hosted our second virtual lunch-in since the pandemic. We continue to have a pretty decent turnout for these. So this is separate, of course, from our Highland Valley Elder Services Take and Go meals, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But this luncheon was accompanied by a small concert from the Ray of Elvis, who was a huge hit here, back last summer, I believe it was, he was here. And so he's an Elvis impersonator, as you can imagine, but our folks really love him, great personality, and broadcasted this not only on, social media, but we also did it through Easthampton Media. And again, I have to give credit where credit is due. Jen and her team over Easthampton Media continue to support us in every way possible because of the technology gaps that I had mentioned earlier. We're looking at ways to be able to take stuff happening on social media and transfer it over to the public access channel. So no matter what, we should have some type of access to that. So it's been a nice backup plan because we can't just rely on social media to do this. So it's been wonderful. Thank you for her help with that. On July 26th, we finally delivered all of the care packages for 190 households in the community that we delivered to. This is a pretty big hit. We had a lot of positive feedback about it, and it was something that was nice. And if it hadn't been for the Helping Hands Society, we wouldn't have been able to pull this off. So I think these care packages included a bunch of different things. We had a book with puzzles and mind exercises. It's actually a book that is approved by the Others Association. It has some background noise. Is there any way you could...
And so it's going to be like 40 to 50 of us. We're having our ceremony at the ranch outside.
So everyone should hit the mute button if you're not talking. That's probably the easiest way. Somebody is on that we're hearing the background noise.
Still going to happen, but...
All right.
No.
Thank you. Bill, someone...
Yes, I thought about that.
I suspect it's you, Chuck.
I think so.
It's a really cool house. That house was...
Yeah, so you got to find them on the screen. If you're on your phone or computer, they're usually down on the left side, there's a little mute button that'll mute, and then until you want to talk again, just have that on.
Yeah, I just muted a couple of people, but if anybody wants to say something, please unmute and join in on the conversation. I'm not trying to block anybody, but there's just a lot of outside noise happening right now. All right, so where was I? Okay. So yeah, anyway, the care packages, like I said, we delivered to over 190 households, and while transportation has been lower during the pandemic, we've been able to do that. So our vans have acted as a delivery system as it has all along. Whether it's the hand sanitizer, face mask delivery, or these care packages, we're able to do that. And so I think, we're fitting this in between essential medical appointments. So it's been great. And again, I can't thank Helping Hand Society enough for giving us funding to help make this happen. So it was a great way to kind of send out a care package during the summer. So going forward into this month, as we're looking at programs and events, John, our activity coordinator, has been working with Andrea Veras, who is a local artist and a senior herself, and they're doing these alcohol and ink tile workshops. So we paid Andrea, and she's gave us a bunch of supplies, which we also delivered to everybody, contact-free, of course. So it's really interesting. There's different dyes and alcohol that you can use that kind of make almost like a tie-dye tile, if you will. It's really cool. But we had 9 people, I think, signed up for that so far. Maybe it's at 10 now. And again, this is a huge plus for us because, again, this is all Zoom. And while it seems low to most Zoom meetings, it's a huge success for us. And I'm hoping that we can keep this going. And even as we, and I don't know when we'll reopen, but when we reopen, we'll still have hybrid model where we're looking at, both virtual platforms and very, very tiny groups when we open, being in the center. So I think we need to keep harnessing this. We need to keep working on how we can make this virtual programming work for folks.
Brendan, yeah, I would agree. I'm not concerned about the numbers at all. I think the bigger issue here is that the center is still interacting with seniors, interacting with participants in some way, shape, or form in a variety of programs throughout what we're going through. So I think that's the key, is the interaction, the events, if you will, the programs that you continue to offer is the important part. If you have 5 people show up or 10 people show up on Zoom or remotely, virtually, what have you, it's important to those 5 or 10 people. And I think it's great that the COA is staying connected in some way, shape, or form to these folks.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of where, Dawn is just, absolutely taking lead with all of this, and she's constantly thinking of new ways of reaching our folks. So she comes to me with these ideas, and, we just launch them and give them a go. And, again, without that and her being in that role, I probably wouldn't even come close to thinking of half the programs that she's already thought up of. So as we move forward, August 26th luncheon that we're supposed to have next week, we just found out that the caterer broke her ankle. So this is also supposed to be a luncheon and mini concert series. So we're quickly trying to figure out whether or not we can go through a different caterer. But it was something that we were probably going to be the last one for the summer that we'll do. But of course, that kind of leads into us and Congregate Meals. We're having pretty solid turnout. On Fridays, we're usually serving about 50 people. And we've even asked Highland Valley to expand. If we can do it, I want to start off by adding maybe one additional day, because it doesn't take too much effort on our part, because everything is pre-made and we just have to get out there and serve them at City Hall. But we're looking at adding one additional day. And if it's possible, I haven't yet to hear back from them. We're getting pretty good feedback from our folks about the program, and it's kind of sad, but it's like the one time that we really get to see our folks. Some of the regular folks who used to come in here, and while it's certainly not all of them, it's kind of like a very quick socialization, and it's sad that it's like that, but it is what it is, but it is nice to see people out and about in the community and doing their thing and safely getting meals, so they don't have to worry about prepping something up for Friday afternoon. So we're thinking about adding another day in, and if possible, we're thinking about expanding even beyond that. I think having a food resource, it's not duplicating the food resources that are already here in town. We have pantries here, and I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel with that, but these are meals that are ready to go. They just need to be heated up, and it's super easy for a lot of the folks in our population, considering how prepping food can sometimes be a barrier for some people from having a hot meal or a well-prepared meal. So it's nice to be able to offer that, and if we can continue to build on that, that is our mission. And I know that previously we had Congregate Meals here, and it kind of faded out, but I don't know, I often wondered this while we're kind of in the pandemic, whether or not it has helped us get higher numbers, because when it was here on site, towards the end, I think there were maybe 5 or 8 people who were coming in. And I always felt like that was a missing component to our centers, that we didn't have a consistent food or meal program. But now we have it, and I feel like we're going to continue to expand. Of course, we're going to take it one step at a time. But the question then becomes, in the winter time, while these are take and go meals, and it's been perfect in the summer and probably into the fall, when the winter hits, we may have to think about some other type of model. If we have to find a delivery system, and maybe working with the Easthampton neighbors would be the way to do it. So. Anybody have any questions or anything like that?
You might want to contact the Helping Hand, Brendan, to see if in their budget for next year, maybe they could help with funding to deliver meals, or, just just an idea. And I don't know if Pat W's on this call, but she may want to bring that up if that's something you're interested in. But what they would need is an idea of what the cost would be, what would be involved, how many people would be served, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. So the only weird catch with all of this is that technically what we've been told by Highland Valley is that if, you know, someone can't make it out to the meal site, technically they should be referred to the Meals on Wheels program, which is tricky because to me, like, I get the overall idea of that, but at the same time, in the winter, it, you know, with it being really cold and the road actually being slippery, even if the person could make it out, I would rather have them stay at home safely. And
Right.
to be honest with you, if it came down to it too, if it was really, 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 you know, bad weather, we would probably just cancel the meal program for that day anyway. But, you know, it's stuff that we still have to work out. The team and I have been talking about it because I don't want that to be a barrier for people because we've already been told, like I said, that it's nice to have a meal that's already prepped and good to go and not have to worry about what you're going to bake or cook that day. So to me, that speaks volumes. So if we can continue with that, and like I said, remove some of those barriers, you know, I'd be more than ready to do so. But it's going to also be coordinating with Highland Valley because I do want to be mindful of not necessarily crossing over into the Meals on Wheels program. However, since COVID started, the program itself has expanded greatly. So I think if you identify as someone who has been isolating during the pandemic, you qualify for Meals on Wheels. Previously, that wasn't the case. There were very strict guidelines the federal government wanted from someone who was just requesting meals. So before COVID-19, if someone called and they had any type of mobility and they had certain ADLs, they most likely wouldn't qualify for the Meals on Wheels program. So then they would ask those people to go to the Congregate Meals. But because Congregate Meals sites are closed, we're in this weird, you know, situation. But regardless, I think we see the value in it, and we're going to continue pushing to get as many days in as we possibly can.
Great. Okay, under old business, I think we covered B already. So the CARES Act grant, Brendan?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly go over that. And down below, and I'll skip to that part, is kind of what the CARES Act grant, you know, how it developed and what they're expecting from us. I'm still trying to get some pricing through AT&T and maybe even Verizon. But part of this CARES Act grant, when I wrote up the grant, it was to look at technology and PPE. So already I've ordered about $500 between disposable face masks and gloves. But the other part of it was to look at spending roughly about $2,700 on technology, which isn't a lot, and you know, I'd completely get it. But I can get 5 tablets that can be circulated and rented out to people if they want to participate in the Zoom. So we're, again, trying to narrow this gap that we have with virtual events and programs and want to make it as accessible as possible to those who are interested. So I think one of the things that we're looking at is purchasing iPads because they are, you know, based on the research that I've done, are pretty user-friendly compared to maybe some of the Droid operating systems. And so I'm going to probably touch base with our IT person and just make sure that we have the tablet set up so it's not super complicated, that we can have the apps ready to go so people can just open it and, you know, be able to participate in one of these concert series or an art program, whatever it may be. So that's the other piece of it. And then the final piece is looking at purchasing, because the way I had written up the CARES Act grant was to not just look at technology, but also look at, you know, purchasing containers for food, because we knew that we were going to be doing a lot of take and go meals. And so as we continued to do those and offer those throughout the community, you know, we kind of split the cost up. So we wanted to make sure that these events were well attended, that people could, again, join these events, even if they didn't have Wi-Fi or maybe they had poor Wi-Fi or whatever the case may be, but we just wanted to make that accessible. And while, like I said, I averaged about 4 to 5 iPads that I could get at that price range with a data plan that I wouldn't have a contract for, that I could back out of after. So if the plan went south and people weren't using it, I at least wouldn't be caught into like a 2-year contract or something like that. So yeah, so that's the CARES Act grant broken down really simply, and this is just the information that you see on the screen here is from Highland Valley and what that contract is made up of. So. All right. As part of new business, we are trying to look at outdoor fitness classes and activities for September. We're thinking that we're going to start off next month with Tai Chi. We've been working with Parks and Rec, the health department, and of course the mayor to see, what we can possibly do. Tai Chi seems pretty low key. It's not intensive cardio or anything like that. And we know that people have been dying to find a way of physically attending something. We just can't offer it here. There's just no way. I think between the ventilation and the space itself, I mean, it's really questionable. And again, that's where, as the talk starts with reopening, I really love to have the board engaged in this, and I don't expect that happening anytime soon, but still. I think if we can offer a safe outdoor activity, and I actually attended Massachusetts Council on Aging training yesterday about liability surrounding, what it looks like for municipalities or towns that offer these programs. And it seems like the law office that was doing the training has suggested that, while it's kind of impossible to prove causation of an infection, that would be a really difficult, oh, my battery is running low. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So yeah, we're thinking about doing Tai Chi to start off the outdoor activities. And again, I think we can work with John from Parks and Rec to find a space that could accommodate. We're only looking for 5 people. And he already, Lenny Burlingame, the individual who does the Tai Chi, already has that crowd attending in the Zoom session. So I think it's manageable, and there's enough room in Parks and Rec to one of their sites to be able to offer this. So we're pretty excited about that, but we don't want to necessarily, publicize it in our September newsletter because, we know that we're not going to be able to handle anything beyond 5 to 8 participants at a time. So we're just kind of sticking and seeing how this goes as like a pilot. John from Parks and Rec has his waivers set up, so the instructor is technically responsible for anything that happens during this class at one of the Parks and Rec sites. So I think waivers are a great thing, and that's what the lawyers had suggested in yesterday's training. I think it just, it kind of helps and makes sure that the instructor knows that, the responsibility is all on the instructor, So let's see here.
I think it's great, Brendan, if you can pull that off, because obviously you've only got a couple of more months to be able to try some outdoor activities. I
know. And other COAs have been doing it. I actually attended a Western Mass directors meeting 2 Fridays ago. And, they had, one of the directors was showing us the group, and I think it was a line, or it was maybe a Zumba class or something like that. And I just felt it was a little too close for comfort. They had a tent set up, but I think, again, based on the rollbacks that have come through Baker, we need to be, I'm sure all that has changed for the COA that was doing the outdoor activities, but I think the tent, putting people under a tent, you've got to be very mindful of space,
Right.
I mean, you'd have to have a massive, a large-scale tent to be able to work with that, and that's not something we have at our disposal. So But we'll see, and we're going to keep all of this as contingent. Anything that is brought up to our participants about this will be based on the fact that this class is, oh, Nicole, you're raising your hand.
I have to go to the next meeting, but I've been sitting and listening, and just, Brendan, thank you so much for a thorough report, and thank you everybody on the, on this board and the cross-working of across all sorts of domains and helping out. I hear great things from the seniors. They drop me cards to give calls about what they're able to still access. They're really grateful. But Brendan, your team, and you, I am grateful for your dedication. And also this board is really right on it. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, and everyone stay safe.
Thank you, you too, Mayor.
Well, that was nice to get those positive words there. So thank you for that. So yeah, you know, it's again, wherever we can fit into the community, that is our biggest focus right now. You know, and we're going to continue to do that and explore every option available. And then on part C of new business, this is something that I've been trying to rack my brain on. We're looking at open enrollment and what that means. And one of the most common complaints that we get so far since we've been doing Medicare counseling over the phone is that people actually can't stand the idea of only doing stuff over the phone, because when they talk to the insurance companies, that's what they're going to get. When they talk to Mass Health, that's what they're going to get. And when they come to the COA, it's a different experience because people can actually see the person that they're talking to, which, yeah, it may not seem like a big deal for some, but for our folks, and even for me, you know, being able to face somebody and being able to ask them these complicated questions is great. And so we've, you know, it kind of helps, you know, mitigate some of the confusion that happens when you're dealing with complex issues surrounding insurance and Medicare, or Medicaid for that matter. So while I would love to do a virtual open enrollment, so that's starting on October 15th, we've been asked, there's questions about Zoom and you know, the privacy end of it. There's, you know, people think that Google Hangout, I believe it's called, is a better option for privacy. I know there's been some hacking issues with Zoom, and certainly if we're talking about complex stuff like that, you know, I wouldn't want to use something that was, you know, potentially could be hacked. It's sensitive information, and that's the last thing we need. But I also am understanding the pain that people have with dealing with stuff over the phone, and it's a struggle. It really is. I've done 3 appointments in the last few weeks over the phone, and I try to send out as many emails as I can to get them prepped up for the appointment. But when we're rolling fast into open enrollment, I'm going to be working, just so you guys are aware, to explore the options of maybe looking at having a tent set outside, at least for October, and maybe looking at maybe even to early November, whether or not we can offer that, and whether or not we can possibly even bring one person at a time into the building. But this is all stuff that we have to get working on now, but I just wanted to explain an area that I figure is probably going to be pretty complicated to work around if we have to do it just by phone. You know, it's
and then I was going to suggest that I'm not sure, and I understand, you know, unfortunately the mayor jumped off, but I understand, you know, City Hall is closed. All the city facilities like ours is closed. But yet I look around and businesses like Pat and Chuck and the bank and all the others are open for business with all the proper CDC, you know, requirements in place. So at a minimum, I'm not sure why we couldn't bring in one person at a time that was meeting, you know, again, wearing a mask, hand sanitizer, have some sort of barrier between the person who's doing the enrollment and the customer, so to speak. I don't know why it wouldn't be possible to actually bring them into the building to meet with someone face to face, properly distanced, and all the other things in place.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the same thing. I mean, unless there's something we're not aware of that you don't
you're just not comfortable bringing at least 1 or 2 people in there, I mean, I can tell you that we have some of those barriers that you see in the banks, and you see all those places, those plastic kind of shield things. We actually have those in our office, you know, for 1 or 2 days a week. I have an extra one I could probably let you borrow, you know, just to have that extra kind of barrier at a desk or a table or whatever. I couldn't give it to you, but I could work around, you know, something like that if that would help.
Yeah, we actually purchased, what was it, like 3 or 4 months ago. And this is back when we weren't sure, like we thought we were going to be opening much sooner than where we're at right now. But anyway, you know, you think back of how naive, at least I was when this all started. But anyway, we purchased some sneeze guards for outreach. And so,
perfect. Yeah.
I mean, I don't personally think one person at a time coming in is going to be a really high risk thing. But of course, I'm not, you know, a public health expert. And so I would defer to both Bree and, for policy purposes, maybe the mayor's office to make sure that, you know, everybody is on board. I mean, right now, Barbara, the city clerk, has been going out to meet people outside under tents, you know, for signatures and other things like that, for documents that people need. So I know that that's how they've been operating down there. And I think right now, as far as I can tell, it's just vendors who are going in outside of city employees. So people who are doing maintenance or anything like that, or people who may have official dealings with, you know, other departments. But I don't, you know, everybody from the general public has been blocked from going into the building. And so I don't know. I don't want to, like, without getting that approval, of course, I don't want to deviate from that, because, of course, we should be following under what the city's doing. So I think it's a matter of kind of feeling it out, and then also knowing where the governor stands and if we have any additional rollbacks. We are dealing with a very susceptible population. So I'm kind of happy that the city has taken a very conservative approach to reopening. I think it's needed, especially for our folks and for schools and stuff like that. But we'll see. I would like to think that we could offer that, because, yeah, after, you know, October, people aren't going to want to sit outside underneath the tent. Not ideal. It's going to be too cold, and I just don't want to put anybody through that. But that's something that we'll explore in the next month or so.
Good.
And then I just have 2 more quick things. We launched another CISA fruit share, so we're working with Park Hill Orchards again to give several families this wonderful farm share. Happens the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of the month. We go out and deliver to anybody who needs it. But so far, we've been given everything from raspberries, apples, and peaches. It's really like high quality fruit. We've had other fruit shares in the past, or farm shares, where we get the same thing over and over again. And food that's not always, again, going back to prepping food. We've had farm shares where we've gotten an abundance of kale, and people are like, you know, that's the only thing they seem to get in the farm share. And you know, it's tough figuring out what to do with kale for, you know, several weeks on end. But anyway, so I have to give a lot of credit to CISA and Park Hill Orchards for making this happen. It's been a wonderful thing to offer our folks. And then we got 50 farmers market coupons this year. It's a little bit higher than last year, and we've officially cleared them out. I might go back and ask for more, and I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with them. It is a popular program for many of our folks. They do like the $25 vouchers that they get to go over to you know, any of the local farmers markets. But we just cleared that out probably in the last week or so, and that's a program offered through Highland Valley. And of course, all of this has been done curbside. We run out. We have the people sign the document, the application that they just did, and then, you know, we give them the booklet, and then they're gone. You know, it's a really easy process. And then they get to use that at any farmer's market for the most part. So it's that time of the year. You know, people want fresh vegetables, and, you know, it's a great way to, you know, get them there. So, but that's it on my end.
Just one other point of order here. I want to go back to the financial report. Technically, I believe we should have had a vote to accept that financial report. I know, Brendan, it wasn't totally updated, but you did give a report. So I would like a motion and a second to accept the financial report.
Chuck
So
made a
moved.
motion, and I'll second.
I'll have
Okay.
it once there.
A couple of people were talking while they were still muted, but as long as Joe's got what he needs for that vote.
Actually, I don't.
Okay, who made the motion? I think Chuck was trying to, but he's muted.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, and Pat seconds.
There you go.
Any discussion about the financial report? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand.
Thank you very much. I just have one other real quick, Brendan, I know you have to run, but the planning department is in the middle of a housing study needs assessment that they received a grant for, and they made a preliminary presentation last month to EDIC and the Housing Partnership. And leading up to some of their recommendations, there's some great information in there, demographic stuff that a lot of it seems to dovetail with the study we did with UMass.
Right.
And I'll speak to Jeff when it's over. I'm hoping he can share it with this group. I mean, they're actually trying to identify, Chuck obviously would be aware of this, but they're trying to identify housing needs in the community and then some solutions to meet those housing needs. But some of it's pretty obvious, like, Easthampton's dealing with like a lot of towns in Massachusetts, dealing with a declining population and an aging population, and then how housing all fits into that. And again, it was interesting because a lot of what they're doing demographically anyway is tying in with that study that we had done. So
Right.
I'd like to hopefully get the green light to be able to share that with this group when it's over.
Yeah, and also we should be hearing from, I'm hoping sometime this month, because if you guys can remember, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission had worked with the city planner and the COA to develop an aging in place program.
Mhm.
And so part of that community block grant would potentially give up towards $5,000 to someone who was eligible to make safety modifications to their home. And so Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, they did a ton of legwork to make it happen. So I should be hearing from Ted pretty soon from PVPC about that. So that's a nice thing to kind of add, because when we do look at the study and we look at the homes that have been purchased by people 65 and up, we're finding that many of their homes were built in, maybe sometime in the 1970s or even later than that. Or not later than that, earlier than that.
Earlier than that, right?
Earlier than that. So a lot of these homes, they haven't had many modifications done, and so as they age in that, home, it's becoming increasingly difficult. Even if it's something like, creating a small ramp for the stairs so someone's not going up a set of stairs, $5,000 could be used to do something like that, or handrails, in the bathroom, and there's plenty of things that can be done that can help people age in place, but it is something that we're waiting to hear back from. So we should know, but we'll see.
Good. Anyone have anything else?
Brendan, I just wanted to add really quickly. I know you said, as you were wrapping up there, you were like, and that's it. I just want you to know that I second what the mayor has said. It's when you say that, you're doing so much over there. We talked about this last month. I just want to know how much you're appreciated by this board and by the community as at large. Just thank you very much. And, I don't want them, I know that I know you're going to say it's my job and I get it, but it is appreciated. And I think you need to hear that. So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Take the kudos while you can get them, because the others come pretty quickly too. So
yeah.
I mean, again, I can't give enough credit to the team, and this is what I was saying last board meeting. All of my folks here have adjusted and adapted to all these crazy changes.
Yep.
Yeah, but it takes a good leader.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, I think we're just continuing, the idea that we just have to be flexible, and that's it.
Yep.
We have to do, make sure our footprint is in the community still, and that we're finding new ways of adapting.
Absolutely. Great job.
Okay, our next meeting is September 15th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So that was Eileen and
Yes.
Chuck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you all
Have a
next
great day,
month.
everyone.
All right, take care, guys. Be safe.
Thanks.
Be well.
Thank you all.